All righty, welcome back to the TCI studio. Alex and I are going to talk about something that we've talked about a lot off air, and we figure we bring this discussion to the video TCI studio world. Alex, let's talk about returning to normal from a Clemson football fan perspective. Some of the things we're looking forward to being able to enjoy this year that we were not able to enjoy last year. Start us off with one thing you're looking forward to as we get to the post-COVID football world.
Yeah, one thing that I think not a lot of people have talked about, we haven't really talked about this on the board, that's going to return to the game day experience with the addition of being back to full capacity, is that students are going to be able to be on the field again. They're going to be able to be in the student section and on the hill on the east side of the stadium, which I think is going to exponentially increase the game day experience this season, the volume in the stadium. But also, I think because of missing out on last season or having to be in the upper deck, in the nosebleeds last season, I think there's just going to be an increased energy that maybe you haven't even seen the last few seasons at Clemson from the game day experience. Because, I mean, for being honest, the most exciting game at Death Valley in recent years, I guess the Texas A&M game in Death Valley was somewhat exciting for a little while. It was a game that was closer in score than it was on the field. Or maybe the Auburn game from 2017, the night game, that matchup with Kelly Bryant was probably the most exciting. But being able to return to normalcy and have the students in an impactful part of the stadium is gonna make the game day experience so much better.
Alex still got one more semester to go. He's giving us that student view. I'm looking forward to seeing, and I always get there very early. Bart and I are like one of the first ones in the stadium. I'm looking forward to just seeing the atmosphere before the game.
Yeah.
Seeing the, walking around and smelling all the tailgate and just seeing all the families, all the folks getting together out there tailgating for 5 hours or 8 hours before the game.
Tents,
cookers, all back, beer,
TVs,
all the RVs set up over there. Just, the pre-game experience. And one of the things that makes Clemson special is all the tailgating. Obviously, you go places like Boston College and some of these other places, it's just not the same. But right. Clemson, tailgating is a big part of Clemson football, and fans really did not get to experience that. And some of the Clemson fans out there, I know you guys would agree with this, a lot of you guys, some of your best friends are the guys that tailgate around you every year, and a lot of folks have the same folks around them every year.
Yeah, I mean, that South Carolina State game is what's going to open up the Valley back to full capacity, and it's going to feel like I honestly feel like it's going to feel like a top 10 matchup, at least, at the beginning of the game. But I think this will be the first time in a very long time you've seen Clemson fans stay in the stands for a low-profile matchup. Because I think what they've expressed to us on the board and what you guys have expressed on Facebook is just you've missed that atmosphere. Mm-hmm. You've missed being able to be a part of it.
I think it'll be one of the loudest. We've talked about it on the board. It's going to be one of the loudest games home games Clemson's had in a long time. And it's going to be against South Carolina State.
Yeah.
But it's just because of exactly what you said. It's experience. Get back out there. I can yell. I can support my team. That's going to be awesome. What's the hardest game you think we're going to see from a
Oh, man.
I see you he's having a look on the phone.
Well, it's because I don't really – this is why I'm looking at the schedule.
With Boston
it's
College.
Because I don't really think that there's going to be a super difficult game at home. Boston College is – I guess the most difficult matchup. I like what Jeff Hafley's done with the program there in his first season last year, bringing in Phil Jerkovich, a quarterback from Notre Dame. He was an impact player immediately for them. This is a much different Boston College team this year, especially in year 2 under Hafley. I actually read an article in the spring that said, will we even see Boston College run the football this year? Because their offense is
usually the opposite.
I know,
right?
it's an air raid offense. They're going to be slinging the ball around. Jerkovich can make the throws that really a BC quarterback hasn't been able to make since Matt Ryan was there. So I think you're going to see a different look from Boston College. Obviously, you had a game that went down to the wire in Death Valley last year where DJ had to lead the Tigers from behind in order to win that game. So that's going to be your most difficult one. But I think we're going to see what we've seen in years past when there's been a close matchup where somebody almost got Clemson or they got Clemson. The next year, Sweeney comes out and makes a point to show that, maybe last year was just a fluke. So I think you'll probably see that kind of thing this year. But if I had to point out a game, it'd be that one.
Do you think fans will get there a little bit earlier for that South Carolina State game and the place will be packed when they run down the hill, or will fans be enjoying being back, able to tailgate so much that they're not quite in there?
Well, the good thing about that game is that they already announced the kickoff time. It's like 5:30, 5 o'clock or 5:30. It's an ACC network game. So because the kickoff is later, I think people will get to Clemson earlier.
But then they might just be passed out.
They may be. But I think that gives fans an opportunity to get all of those reunions out of the way and get into the stadium. I really feel like, Tiger Walk is probably going to have an unprecedented crowd when it kicks off here against South Carolina State. And I think people try to get in the stadium and watch warm-ups and just be back in Death Valley because half of the people weren't able to go last year.
And I think if you're a player or a coach, you're going to love that first Tiger Walk.
Yeah.
Right? Seeing those fans and just getting to do all that. And that's when you kind of get it up close with the fan base as you walk from the buses to the stadium.
Well, think about those sophomores that came in for their first season last year, and they went on visits and saw what Clemson was like, but they've never experienced it firsthand. You even heard it in post-game interviews last year with some of those guys where they're like, this atmosphere was great, it was amazing, it was wonderful, and they're talking about 25% capacity. So to hear those guys talk about what it's like when they stand on the top of the hill and there's 80,000 people yelling and screaming, it's going to be a completely different experience for them.
And I can't wait to get back on the field. Last year we were allowed one press box seat per game. Nobody on the field. Bart did get to be the pool photographer one game, so he got down there. But first time in forever I didn't get to be on the field shooting photos during the games. It's just a different experience down there. So I cannot wait for that experience. And I know personally, and I think Alex, I'd like to hear your opinion on this, and I think the fans will share this opinion. I'm probably going to take things. I'm not going to take things for granted this year. I'm going to enjoy all of the experiences in the past. It's like, this is what I do every game. And you don't really think about, how cool it is and how special it is to be able to cover a game in Clemson, in Death Valley, and see all those things we talk about. And I think the fans will probably have the same experience where they'll, appreciate things a little bit more this year.
Yeah, for us in the media, when you're covering a 15-game schedule, which is what we've got most years, or a lot of years from Clemson, by the end of the season, you're kind of running on fumes. And when you've been to 6 playoffs, or for me 3 playoffs, when you get to that point, it can feel kind of repetitive. Like, we know the routine, we're used to doing it, we know what we do when we go on these road trips. But now I think for everybody, and just in general, not even just about football, there's a new appreciation for things that we took for granted. So I'm definitely going to be approaching my job in the press box with a new appreciation for just being able to be there and being able to get a front row seat to what's going on at Clemson, and just getting to cover a normal sporting event is going to be exciting. So
that's our flavor. Those are some of our thoughts. Obviously, I know you guys have a lot of thoughts yourselves. Certainly comment on the video when we put this up. Share some of those, and on Facebook, our Facebook page, or on the Rock. And I know you guys are as excited as we are to get back to football at normal. Hopefully, nobody interferes with that. All you politicians and other folks out there, we want to be back to normal. So make sure let's get that done. Stay tuned to the Clemson Insider for the most complete coverage of Clemson athletics, Clemson recruiting, and Clemson football.